City phone-in. Quite a lot to talk about tonight, of course. 7-0 defeat on the weekend at Leeds. Transfer deadline day, of course, as well. Record thrashing, really. I think it was the worst since even before I was born. 1955, I think it was. Quite a shocking result. To be honest, I didn't see it coming. Maybe I should have done, but I didn't. Because on the show last week, I thought we'd get probably... I fancy us to get a draw, actually, particularly as Steve was saying before we came on. We've got John Wilkins with us tonight and Terry Walton and Steve Thomas, by the way. So John's just come in. I'm going to come to you first, John, because obviously you're at the match on the weekend. But on the show last week, everyone was saying we're going to get it. We're going to get a bit of a paste in. But based on the fact of what Steve said earlier, based on the stats that we had a pretty good record at Leeds over the last few years. I know they're on top form. So even if we did lose, I thought we had a chance of getting the draw anyway. But even if we did lose, I certainly didn't see this coming. So you were there. Tell us about it from your point of view. Effectively, what went wrong? So
you didn't do the basics. I thought the lineup was wrong. O'Dowda for me is not a left back. He's better further up the pitch. He's better taking people on and getting balls into the area. Myself, I would have put Bagener or Louis Giles as left back. The midfield got overrun, but I keep reiterating myself all the time. I'm supposed people fed up with me hearing it, and I'm fed up of saying it. It doesn't matter who you got in front of you. Everyone's saying, "Oh, but look at this squad that cost millions and millions." We totally backed off him. It reminded me like the derbies against the Jacks when they'd done a double over us twice. We just didn't press him. We didn't do the basics. Didn't press him. There was no crunching tackles going in. They were virtually walking the ball into the net because we were backing off him. And when we had the ball, I noticed Leeds had 3 or 4 players and bang straight in onto us. Didn't give us time on the ball and got the ball back quick. Then they started another move. Now, I'm watching teams playing football and they're all working in little groups of 3s. They're all working in little packs and all that. And when we have the ball, there's no movement off it. There's no pace in the side. And I want to see Rhys play the youngsters because Steve Wiggy touched on this, and he's right in what he's saying. The average age of the Sunderland team is 24. I want to see the youngsters being played. I really do, because what's the point of having these academies if we're not going to play the youngsters? Phil Ralph's been a great servant. I'm not blaming him for everything, but he's reached his peak now, and he's getting on a bit now. The legs are not there, and it needed pace in that midfield, and I thought we missed a little seal in there Saturday, to be honest with you, because he would have been chomping at the bit, like he would have been breaking up play, But I felt quite positive before the game. I fancy it,
So did I.
I fancy the point. I know I would have bitten anyone's hand off for the point, but it's the manner of the way we lost, those players walking around, gentlemen, if it was my football team, you're off. I don't care who you are or what you are, you're off. End off. And I'm afraid, like with the manager, he's a lovely bloke and all that, but I think he's afraid to drop his favourites and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but the impression I'm getting, he's got his favourites and stuff like that. And he brought that Danish guy, the one from Ajax. I thought he would have started, to be honest with you, but he was on the bench. And we got this young kid from Leicester now. Is he going to start playing in, or is he going to be on the bench? The important games are coming up. I want to be quick now to give someone else a turn. But the important games now, Leeds is gone, and I'm just worried how it's going to affect us mentally. That's got, it'll either make us or break us. The important ones coming up now is Portsmouth coming up now, and Plymouth away.
Yep.
They're the important games now. They're the ones we've got to get something out of.
Okay, so I'll go to you next, Steve, and then I'll come up to Terry. So the comment on there from Kyle: we were terrible. Rhodri's legs have gone too slow. Aren't good enough to play out from the back, etc. in the preceding game, Joe Rolls had a pretty good game actually, I thought. And of course we went into that match, didn't we? On a 9-match unbeaten run in league and cup. And I suppose one thing that Omar has done fairly consistently, which I quite like, is generally, if the team's done okay, he's sort of more or less kept with sides which are getting the results. Any thoughts on singling out people like Joe Rolls? Because obviously he is one of the ones whose contract is up at the end of the season, etc. So and he is getting on a bit. What's your thoughts on Joe this season, Steve?
I think yeah, you're right. We came into the Leeds game thinking it was a bit of a free hit. We were 2-0 down early on, but then we were 2-0 down after 20 minutes at Millwall, and we came back really well there. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. I thought a few times on Saturday when I could see was the way we were trying to play out the back. There was the one goal where Callum Chambers, who's been absolutely excellent playing in front of the centre backs, seemed to sort of turn into trouble. Had 3 Leeds players on him, but I think as John intimated there, they were pressing us. We went from getting the ball forward more quickly, playing more direct, to trying to play out against a team that is going to be very good at stopping us from playing out. They had a lot of pace, but I think we got to look back and say this was a free hit, and we have had some really good results before then. The win against the Jacks, the win against Derby, coming back and getting points. Middlesbrough's not an easy place to go to. We got a point there, and to come back from 2-0 down against Millwall and get a 2-2 draw. And Millwall, I think, have won every single game they played since then. So they've had a couple of 1-0 away wins, and they've moved up the table. So all is not lost. Good point on by KTF 1969 there. Rhys being in the stands for the game. I like the way what I can see that's been going on the touchline recently with Rhys at the front and people chirping things in his ear. Until Saturday, I think a lot of us were saying that Richard Shaw had made a difference to the defence.
Yeah,
the way he was coaching. And I think yeah, we did miss CO. I'm not entirely in agreement with you, John, on playing the youngsters. Yeah, let's blood them. Let's get them in. But if they're good enough, I mean, obviously, Kean Ashford showing that he's got some potential there. He's come on and been very direct. I've always preferred Colwell as an impact player. I would rather get a player in who's going to make a difference. I've heard talk today that Carlin Grant's asked for a transfer, and we're one of three clubs interested in him. I'd love to have Carlin Grant back in. He made such a difference, and there was a good combination between him and Callum Robinson when they were at West Bromwich Albion. So again, Callum Robinson, these players don't become bad players due to this one ludicrously poor performance. Yes, it's the worst result since before I was born. We were talking before we went on air. Remember the years we had in the 80s and 90s. I saw us concede 7 at home to Cambridge United in 1994. So
or 17, yeah.
Yeah. And then there was a 5-0 home defeat to Maidstone United.
Yeah. John Williams' debut.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The new stand, wasn't it? Remember?
Absolutely. Yeah. Open the family stand. How many of them? Yeah. A lot of them would have come back, obviously, because they'd have been hooked after that.
It's kind of typical Cardiff City, though, isn't it? I mean, using that as an example, we got a new stand, we got a new player, and then we get battered 5-0. Then here we are on a 125th anniversary season. Yeah. It's almost like written in the stars, isn't it? The Cambridge game, Steve, was a fun for me personally. Was an interesting one because I was covering the sports show on Red Dragon FM that day, and I didn't normally do that show. And you're not supposed to play any tunes. You're supposed to keep the commentary going. And every time I went to Phil Suarez, bless him, God bless him, by the way, rest in peace, Phil. Every time I went to him, he said, "I can't talk now, son. They've scored again." I couldn't get him on the line, I'd keep on padding. And Greg, absolutely, John, I'm sure you'd agree with that totally from Jamie on the screen there. Massive credit to the way fans, including yourself, sucking up all the banter, from the Leeds fans, but stuck with it. Terry, you've obviously seen a few fairly heavy ones over the years. What's your take on this?
Well, just a quick word about Saturday. I mean, I think we just froze like rabbits in headlights, didn't we? We give him far too much respect. We didn't take the game. When I've never seen so many tapping goals in all my life. I mean, it simply ripped us apart, and we give them far too much respect. They should never have got that much respect. I was surprised he didn't do on the day to take some pressure off the defence. He didn't play Salek from the start up front with Callum Robertson and put 2 players up there that could have caused a bit of trouble up in their half, and then I would have taken off. I think the only player that came out of that game with any credibility was Ashford. He played hard as a defensive player. He wasn't flared up front. He had to keep going back and helping out. But we give him far too much respect. And again, at half time, we were 2-0 down. Okay, it started badly, but that's been typical of our season this year, starting badly. I thought we'll go in at half time. There'll be a swift talk. There'll be a couple of changes up front, an outcome of second half. And I was still sitting there hoping for a 2-2 draw. I really was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, the worst defeat I ever remember was going back quite a few seasons ago. We were in the playoff positions. And we went to Preston North End, and we had to concede no more than 3 goals to stay in the playoffs. And we lost 5-0, and we fell out of the playoffs. And after that, we just vegetated for many, many years. We got drummed that day on a game where all we had to do was not let in goals and to get into the playoffs, and we let in 5.
Yeah, and Nigel's making the point again about the director of football thing about it's not that's probably not going to change, not until there's a change of perspective at the top level. But there's a point here which I'll come to you first, Terry, and then I'll go to John on. Tactical mistake thinking we go to a team like Leeds and set up like we've been playing and think we can win. We were outclassed and we had no plan B. Listening on the radio, and I can't say, I know you played for the club, but I can't say I'm a massive fan of Kevin Ratcliffe as a commentator. He's just, I think he's very, very, very negative and a bit all-knowing at times. I find him quite irritating. Yeah, but he made the point about City going with effectively a 2-man midfield, and I suppose we think about it from the perspective of Leeds United, Terry. And okay, I take John's point. You shouldn't lose 7-0 to anyone. Kind of pretty well ever. Brighton managed it on the weekend, and so did we, but it shouldn't really happen. Yeah. But there's like 150, 200 million pounds worth of player. The top of the table. So they're not going to be unaware of how we play, and they play with so much width. I suppose from their point of view, maybe we were there for the taking. Do you think, Terry, we should have maybe set up more defensively for that game? Because we seem to be wanting to play from the back and all that stuff again as well.
Yeah, I don't think we should have. I think, we should have surprised them by going forward, and that would have taken some of the pressure off the defence and made Leeds sit back a bit more. They just roamed the midfield. They created so much space.
They got so much width,
tapping the ball in at an open net. I mean, It was the first time I've ever seen Anwick. He was completely beaten every time the ball came into the box, wasn't he?
He didn't have his best, did he?
He didn't have his best game by any means. There was nobody other than sort of Ashford that took any credit from Saturday. The other 10 players on the park didn't do anything. And again, this season, we've changed teams in the second half. Players have come on and turned the game around. We made the changes just after half time, or even late after half time, and it made no impact whatsoever. It made it worse. We were 2-0 down half time, and they banged 5 more in when we brought the changes on. So and again, it's bad from us at the Welsh side to be beaten by 3 Welshmen in that Leeds side, isn't it?
And in the John Charles stand.
Yeah.
So, Terry, I don't know if Steve or John might know the answer to this, or any of you, but because I mean, it's worth talking about as well, really. The Omer Rizzo kind of ban, which seems to me absolutely insensitive and wrong, really. And how the Swansea player went charging into him 2 or 3 occasions, just nothing happens. This is crazy to me. But Steve, do you know if you're banned as a manager, suspended from? Are you able to communicate with the touchline? How does it work?
That's a really good question. I remember seeing Wayne Rooney in the stand when he played Plymouth at home, again, and to the touchline then, and he clearly wasn't communicating. Not that it would have made any difference if he was, but I think it was unfortunate. Obviously, from an official's point of view, he did step onto the pitch, so he did have to be sanctioned for that. But I think it's very, very difficult when you've got an inexperienced manager. I think together they've made quite a good team over the last few games. The quicker we get Rhys back on the touchline, the better, I think.
Okay, and John, the point there from Jamie on the screen about and referring to cup games. I mean, there's an obvious analogy in our history here, and we played Leeds United in the FA Cup. We beat them 2-1, and they were top of the Prem.
Mm.
You know, I mean, that's my kind of perspective on these games. Leeds are pretty well the best side in this division, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not the best side in this division. But if it was a cup game and we were up against Leeds, you'd kind of, you know, do you know what I mean? You'd have a perspective, you know, you wouldn't go there thinking, oh, they're so good, we're going to get battered, would you? You know, you'd think you would have had a chance, because that 2-1 game, you know, was an unbelievable win, but we did win, and it was like battle and fight and togetherness and everything else. But from what you're saying, you didn't really see much of that on the weekend, and it seemed like the goals were kind of raining in, and we maybe just gave up towards the end. Would you say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if it was a boxing match, the ref would have stopped it there, Steve. For me, to be honest, it was like men against boys. No leaders out there. Could have done with a Joey Dwyer out there. You know, as I said, it doesn't matter who you're playing against, and you know, we had a couple of youngsters playing last year, didn't we? Like Conte, he impressed me. Little Pacquiao, he impressed me. And I don't believe all this nonsense, age and all that. Look at Ramsey, he made his debut for us when he was 16. If you're good enough, you're old enough, you know? But as I keep saying, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. If you don't do the basics, you're going to get punished. And I agree with the gentleman on the bottom right. I would have played with two up front. I would have played with that, what's his name? Tom Selleck, the big guy, Yusuf, or whatever it is, Selleck. Yeah. I would have played him up front, the big fella, because Robinson was up there on his own, and Roden had him in his pocket, like, you know, just throwing him around like a little rag doll, like, you know. Big man up front, hold the ball up, and I have Ashford up front or Robinson, hold it up, lay it off for him, bang, goal. You know, you need someone strong up there, and I just thought got it wrong Saturday with the setup. And good managers, if they see a system not working, they don't wait for the 70th minute and all that. They change it straight away, there and then. If it's the 20th minute or 30th minute, they change it straight away. Or at half time straight away. And he didn't change anything at the half time. And it was too late anyway. The game was gone anyway. But you've got teams like that, you've got to be in their faces. You've got to be nasty. Put some big challenges in, like, to know that you're there, like, you know. If you back off, and they'll destroy you. As simple as that.
Reading comments from Leeds fans over the weekend as well, they were pleased that we tried to go toe to toe with them, because apparently Burnley went there. Burnley have had 3 or 4 consecutive 0-0 draws. They went there and basically parked the bus. I understand. Obviously, I didn't see the game, but
I watched bits of it. Boring.
Played that against Leeds and done that, but I think at the end of the day, it's gone now. We've got to move on. But come to well, was it 2 or 3 seasons ago? We played Leeds, conceded a late equaliser at home. Ended up with 2-2. Now, if memory serves me correctly, we were 5-0 down away at Leeds in the replay, and they kind of took their foot off the pedal, and we got 2 late goals back and from Callum Robinson, and we ended up losing 5-2. I think it could have gone the same way then. I think a big concern that I've got is where do we go from here? Hopefully we can stay up. But my concern is, you look at the gap between the teams at the top of the Championship and the teams in the area where we are. You got your Leeds as your Sheffield United, likely to go up. The 3 teams who went up last season are in the bottom 3 of the Premier League. At the other end of the scale, of course, you got Forest, who somehow have managed to establish themselves up there and managed an amazing 7-0 win on.
That's a really good point you're making, Steve. Actually, because if you think about it, with Forest, when Forest first went up, John will remember that obviously as well. You know, they had Mr. Cooper as their manager and whatever. I didn't really want to stay up anyway. I wanted to get relegated, if I'm honest, and it's pathetic, but there you go. But they managed to cling on. And if you think about, somebody was talking to me about the other day, John, about when we had Warner come in, we were in the Premiership, and we went down, I think, by the odd point, and there was that dodgy Chelsea goal and all the rest of it. You know, if buts and maybes, that they are what they are. But if we had stayed up that season, financially, that would have made such a massive difference, wouldn't it, to the club? And Forest stayed up that one season, and they've had the money, and they've invested it well, and they've moved on, and they've moved on, and they've moved on. So Forest, I suppose, John, is, although it might seem unlikely at the moment, a third in the Premiership. A kind of a model for how teams can push on from the Championship and, build for the future, I suppose.
Yeah, well, not just Forest. Look at Brentford. Look at Bournemouth. Look at Brighton.
Bournemouth are classic, aren't they?
Amazing.
Yeah, Bournemouth. Flipping heck. Yeah, remember playing them in the old 4th division, the 3rd division, Bournemouth.
Yeah.
With
the tiniest ground in the Premier by miles.
Yeah, 10,000, whatever it is. Yeah.
They've established themselves, got mid-table or in the top half of the table consistently. Once you've had 2 or 3 seats, I hate to talk about this, the Cardiff City Forum, but when Swansea got up, they hung on for the first couple of seasons, but then they
made all the difference.
Ended up with the mid-table most of the seasons.
Yeah. 7 seasons he had, didn't he?
Forest did kind of stumble across a good manager because they were talking about the amount of times we change manager. Yet if you look at the Forest were changing manager more often than us. I think the final one would have been Chris Hughton before he made way for Steve Cooper. And I think, again, we beat Forest twice that season, home and away. Forest, we won 7 consecutive league games at. I think with Leeds, I think my son was into his 20s until we actually lost a game against Leeds. And he went to 17 games against Leeds with me, and we never lost one of them. So, again, it's amazing how these things can change. We've got to look back and say, the one defeat in the last 13 games against Leeds at Ellen Road before this one. Yeah.
So, Steve, sticking with and of course you work in Nottingham, so you're surrounded by cheerful Forest fans at the moment, I'm sure, particularly with our result on the weekend, because I know your support, I'm sure. But the point that I think it was Terry made about the premierships, like the haves and the have-nots, it's become quite farcical to me, particularly when I have all this parachute money and all the rest of it. I mean, Leeds have got a multi-million-pound squad anyway, but those clubs who come down, you just know. I mean, I like a gamble now and again. You might as well just stick 20 quid on the 3 clubs coming down. They're just going straight back up, and the 3 clubs who went up last season, they come back down. It's just, it's not good. It's not good for football, is it?
No,
it's just totally. It's not an even playing field, is it?
It's not, and it's getting worse as well because you're seeing the teams that are coming up from League One are struggling in the Championship. It's the same. It's very much very 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 distinct. But again, for a few seasons now, you've had 3 or 4 leagues within the Premier League. You got the top 6, and you got the bottom 3 or 4. Yeah, Wolves are kind of flirting with it, but I think Wolves are going to be okay. I think we'll have the 3 that went up last season coming back down, and 2 of the 3. Luton obviously not doing very well, but I think you've got a good chance of Burnley and Sheffield United going back up this season. So again, it's really difficult to break in there. But as Terry says, if you can just get up there and manage to avoid relegation once, then you can probably push on. But it's so difficult.
And Nigel's comment there is again a good analysis as ever. Good players and squad, but we have enough fight to pull away. However, having said that, we were 9 games unbeaten going into this game. 3rd away game running, we start slow. We do that fairly regularly, yes. But the point he makes there is again going back to what you said earlier, Steve. I think about Richard Shaw. 1 clean sheet in 19 is simply not good enough and holds us back. In general, I think we have looked more organised. I think at the back, do we? I know John won't see it this way, and I totally understand that. But do we think, okay, so we got battered on the weekend by the best team in the league, we should never get beaten by that. Let's put it behind us. We got Portsmouth, Bristol, Plymouth, and Hull coming up. That is the focus now, and we got to get back to how we are. Is that sort of the perspective that we need to take?
I think so. I definitely think so. I think Nigel's right in a way that we have started slowly. We kind of got away with it at Millwall. That said earlier, 2-0 down on 20 minutes there, and we got back and got dramatic last kick of the game equaliser almost, which is always if you're going to get a draw, equalise like that. But yeah, we've got to look forward now, and we have been looking quite good. A lot of us were talking before about what a masterstroke it was to move Callum Chambers into midfield behind the centre backs. Some of the tweaks he'd made. I think I would like potentially. I would love to get Carlin Grant back in first of all. Also, I'm concerned about the left back position. Like you, Steve, I'm a big fan of Joel Bagan. Yeah. I'm also a big fan of Callum O'Dowda, but he's so much better when he's looking forward. I remember at Stoke away when we unfortunately conceded a late equaliser that game. Willock and Callum O'Dowd on the left were superb that day, and we looked very, very likely that we were going to get a point. We didn't, but we moved on from it. I think that we're a couple of players short, but in the summer, hopefully we can stay up. But then we have to make our mind up. What do we want to do? Do we want to push on and try and get in the Premier League? If we do, we need to have a complete overhaul of the squad.
Well, that, and again, Terry, that point is significant. Okay, it was just a terrible day at the office, if you like, for Cardiff City on the weekend. But again, going back to that FA Cup thing, when we beat the top of the league, who were Leeds, we beat them 2-1. If we're thinking we played against a club who only recently come down from the Premiership, and they smashed us 7-0. And then you look at Nottingham Forest winning 7-0 and Arsenal putting 5 on Man City. It makes you think maybe we should, plan our return to the Premiership over more of a kind of a longer lead in. It's not a good time for us to be there. We're just so far off the mark. It's incredible at the moment. It's not really.
But that is the difference, as you were all making that comment earlier. Most of the teams are now go up to the Premier League, struggling at lower 4 or 5 for most of the season. And 2 out of 3 of them you can guarantee will come back down again. But then they come down with the parachute payments. They keep all the top players for a season or 2, so they dominate the championship. You look at that championship this year, there's about 6 sides, 7 sides at the top who are dominating it. And then you've got this sort of 38 to 41 points mid-table. And then a group of us down the bottom with around about 29 to 30 points. You've only got to win or lose 2 games, and you can shift 5 or 6 positions, but you cannot break into that top 6 or 7. There's such a void there now between them. But you've got a mid-table and a bottom 8 or 9 clubs all changing positions constantly. You take Plymouth last weekend. They look whipping boys at the bottom, but they come up with a win. And now they're back in contention again. And Oxford came in as a bottom side, beat us, turned their season. QPR came in as a poor side, beat us, turned their season. They've now put up an 8 or 9 point gap in that between them and the relegation zone. I think Cardiff must be the kicking on point for most of these sides to change their seasons. About time we kicked on ourselves and played consistently. That's our big problem is we don't, week on week, you can't rely on players to be consistent. They come out, we have a brilliant squad that comes out, plays well, pulls off some great results, and then next week we'd expect something, and for some reason we don't turn up.
Terry, I got to ask you about your lucky scarf.
Well, I had this, my old blue one when my mother knitted me, that's how old that was, finally fell apart. And for my birthday on January the 4th, my son bought me the scarf. I wore it at every game, and we went 8 games undefeated. I almost burnt it on Saturday.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's a nice scarf, though, anyway.
It is, yeah, it's rather good, isn't it?
Maybe the scarf just had a bad day, So, John, what was...
I know we're breaking up. We might sound breaking up with yours.
No, you're fine, Terry. I can hear you okay. Hopefully you can hear me. John,
yeah.
What was it like conceding so many goals, surrounded by the Leeds fans, and at the time just before the end when we were absolutely, the goals were flying in, and you got that long journey coming home? It must have been pretty well a low point all the time you followed the club, is it?
I'm used to it, to be honest. To be honest with you, Steve, because we're Cardiff City, and like people think we're flipping Man United or Real Madrid, whatever. We're Cardiff City, and you look through the history of Cardiff City, all we've ever been is an average, really second division side, when you look through the history of Cardiff City. So I suppose I'm getting older, and just accepting things a bit more. And you had the Leeds lot taking the proverbial, but we would have done the same, We would have done the same, and I just accepted it. It is what it is, Years ago, I would be literally frothing at the mouth, going absolutely berserk, but what's the point? There's only you're hurting, innit? Do you know what I mean? So, just accept it, move on, that's it.
So fair enough. So taking, which is a reasonable way to see it. Taking that into account, obviously we've got the cup game next, so everything's going to change then. And who knows? It's transfer deadline day. We've got a couple in so far. So we've got 3 in so far. Maybe there'll be one more. We'll see. But for the next league match, then, for Portsmouth, isn't it?
Portsmouth,
What would be your kind of changes for that? Because it's obviously in both away matches, but Portsmouth away, who are struggling with us down the bottom, and like Terry said, one of the sides that came up from League One and struggling to stay there, versus Leeds, who are probably going to run away with the championship at the end. Are there horses for courses? Are there kind of definite changes? What kind of things do you think you would do for the Portsmouth match?
I start with Yusuf. I would start with. I'd play 2 up top. I would for a start. Play 2 up top.
4-4-2, 3-5-2.
4-4-2. I go 4-4-2.
I love 4-4-2. You don't see it very much.
Yeah. Like I was saying to my mates, I'd like to say a quick hello to Daniel Pritchard, Lee Hutton, Kyle Burston, Connor Burston, Dave Opday, all my mates who I travel with the city, and Jamie and his family. Thank you for the friendships and that great stuff. I was saying to the boys Saturday, I said it was like Brian Clough. He kept it simple, didn't he? The game of football. He said, I want my goalkeepers to save shots. I want my full-backs to defend and my centre-halves. I want my midfielders, to create, and the one dog, and my 2 wingers to get the ball in, and my strikers to score goals. He said, that's how I play the game. And that was Brian Clough, and can't argue with him, can you? For me, he was the best manager of the lot, For me, they're complicating the game of football, as far as I'm concerned. Play 4-4-2, O'Dowd further up the pitch, Bagan at left back. Renamotta, he's been great lately, and I like him at right back, but I'll play this new guy in the midfield with Robertson as well. This one from my axe. Give him a go. Nothing venture, nothing gained. Do you know what I mean, Steve? Give him a go. Let's see what they're on about. And this young kid from Leicester as well, because the side is lacking pace as well. We need pace.
Yeah. Steve, I mean, there was an. It's easy to look back on things retrospectively, isn't it? But there was an argument, I think, for maybe taking a particular approach to that Leeds game. I take Terry's point about attack being the best form of defence, but if we had Chambers and Rolls in midfield, who have been doing quite well, right? But they're not overburdened with pace, are they? And there's only 2 of them, so it's easy for a side like Leeds to kind of swamp us. We could have played Reno in midfield as a defense, or Perry NG or something like that, couldn't we? We could have taken that kind of approach. Steve, but for the next match, we've got these 3 players in so far: Mansverk, Alves, and then the lad up front who already looks good. What kind of changes would you be looking at, Steve?
For the Portsmouth game, obviously, leaving the cup game at Stoke next Saturday to one side.
Yeah, we'll come back to that probably. Absolutely,
I wouldn't drastically change the side, because we've done so well over the last 8 games, despite the fact that Terry wanted to burn his scarf. It has been quite a lucky omen for us in that we've done quite well in the games in January. I wouldn't change it too drastically, but I do see a case of bringing in Mansverk. Until Saturday, Callum Robinson had been, I think, playing some of the best football, probably the best football since he signed for us. The goals he's been getting, clearly playing with confidence. So I wouldn't change too much, particularly when you're playing a team against Portsmouth. It was good enough to beat Derby. It was good enough to beat the Jacks. So why isn't it good enough to go to Portsmouth and get a result as well? I wouldn't change it drastically beyond possibly bringing in Mansverk, who you eloquently described as having a bit of a misogynistic name last time, Steve. But I'd like to see him. But I'm a little bit concerned about how fit are the new players going to come in. Yes, we got the player in from Leicester today. Quite excited reading the reports about him. But I don't think we should be lobbing him straight in. We've got to get him more up to speed, I think. But I think I wouldn't drastically change the side that's done so well over the last few games.
Okay. And the players have come in, Steve. I'd imagine they probably will get a run out, won't they? In the cup match, I would think.
Yeah.
So also, I wonder. I hope Ollie Tanner's still on the road to recovery with Cardiff City, because he seems to have gone a little bit. We hope it's a genuine injury. I'd hate to see him leaving if we're bringing people in. We mentioned Carl and Grant. He's being talked about. I think West Brom have got to bring someone in, haven't they, before they could move him in. But Alves, he's actually it should be Alves. Actually, he never will because he's part Portuguese.
Yeah.
But he's only 19, and when you see the pictures of him, he just looks like he looks like a paper boy,
Yeah.
But I imagine he's a very quick paper boy.
Quite pleased we didn't sign. Well, we may still not signing Jones from Peterborough. I think the Peterborough fan I know very well said he would be overjoyed if they were to get rid of him because the fans there are kind of turned on him. According to that doesn't get reported very well. No. In South Wales or in where I live, but I think I'm excited about Matt Mansvert coming in. Look quite good, the sort of player we need in midfield to break up play a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and Terry, after losing 7-0, if Rhys does make changes, for the next league matches, nobody can kind of complain, can they? Really? It's time to change.
I understood the first couple of games holding Salek back, but he was holding him way back in 3/4 of the match was going before he was bringing him on. And he did show one or two troublesome moments when in those last quarter of an hour, and he did get the equaliser that night against Millwall. So, he does trouble defences. I think it's a lot to allow Robertson up front all his own constantly, not getting any...
Can't do it.
To get Salek in much earlier and change the game around a bit. I think too many teams know how we play now, and a couple of changes in the side might confuse them.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the kind of players we're signing? Because it's kind of interesting, Terry, that we're obviously, we're looking further afield. Ajax and Salek obviously coming from some distance. So we seem to maybe be getting our act together in terms of hunting players and bringing players in.
Yeah, but the thing that's a bit frustrating as a supporter again, we knew from early January we had to be off the mark to get these players in and up to speed by the end of January, early February. And we really up till this week only signed one player, didn't we?
Yeah. But quite a few have gone out, Terry, haven't they?
And
quite a few have gone out, so it's like a big kind of shake-up of
people, but without being much incoming. We made a couple of good signings during the last week. Salek was 3 weeks ago, but nothing. There was all this going on in the background. There was the people being looked at, but nothing coming forward. And now, if you're going to bring the players we brought in, have not been team players who've been playing constantly for the last month. They're all players who've been on the sidelines and now got to get back up to match fitness and match condition.
Well, I mean, that's a slight worry, isn't it? That's my wife leaving the building, by the way. The slight worry with Mansvert in that he had a significant injury, didn't he? And he hasn't played for quite a while. So, you got to hope that works out, I suppose. But also...
situation we brought Ramsey in. We all thought he was going to be a saviour of the club, and really, he's played well. And the first game he started, he was making a difference. Got injured, missed the season, came back, started to make an impact, and then missed it out again. So he really hasn't given us that edge that we were looking for, has he?
No, but the other thing I would say is as well about the signings. There was an interview with Rhys before the most recent match. And it's really interesting, actually, how he kind of analysed everything. But of course, we forget that he was, connected with the England youth setup, and so, for example, this lad Alves is a result of that. So maybe looking to the future, maybe that could see more decent players coming in. We'll see. Is 3.5 hours to go till the transfer window. Robert overruns a bit, but John, do you reckon? Do you feel it in your bones that we'll be bringing in a magnificent new player before the deadline?
I've heard with the Carl and Grant thing when it came through on Facebook. It was a bit of Enid Brighton like Jack and Rory. Yeah, it's not true. Yeah, it's not true. Yeah, and I can't see Vincent Tan stomping up 5 million, whatever, to get him. I think we've done our business. I think in the transfer window. I hope I'm wrong, but feeling I got that's it now.
I thought the bit I read was they were going to have him on loan with the first option for 5 million to buy him.
Yeah, I think that's right. Michael Randolph has just gone now officially in the last couple of minutes. He's gone to
Bristol Rovers, isn't it?
Bristol Rovers, yeah. Jordan Rhodes, there's a signing. Blackpool to Mansfield. Blimey, he used to score goals for fun. So they are still going through. So there could still be some changes. Is it, in your opinion, John? Is it kind of reassuring or healthy to see that there is quite a big turnover in the squad, with quite a few going out as well as a few coming in? It sort of needs a major refresh, because the argument's been, hasn't it, that we signed a lot of players over the last couple of seasons, but that's why we're in the problem we got now. Maybe the players that other clubs didn't want, would you say?
Yeah. If they were any good, they'd want to keep hold of them, wouldn't they? But it's like the gentleman said on the bottom right. I'm impressed with the signings, but there's difference being fit and match fit, isn't there? And like that Ajax guys, when he had 2 games, and the others haven't played much. And we need players now to hit the ground running. We're in the relegation battle, and this has been the 4th season now we've been in a relegation fight, and that worries me. You've seen it, Steve, and you other guys have seen it, like in the late 70s and 80s, and you're fighting relegation, and one year your luck will run out and you will fall through that trapdoor, and if we do stay up this May, if we do stay up here, the club's going to have a good look at themselves. Can't keep doing this all the time. Can't.
No, and however, would you? It's a difficult one for you, because you obviously the emotions are there. But if we put the weekend behind us and getting battered at Leeds, if we treat that as a blip and the one defeat in 10, then that's got to be the mentality, isn't it? Because like Jamie says there, I know you know Jamie fairly well. February very much the make or break month. I mean, it is, as he says, it's a huge month. This is the month
massive.
where we're going to start doing it, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If we don't get anything against Pompey and Plymouth and Hull, if you don't get anything out of those 3 games, we're in massive trouble.
So Steve, Jamie goes on to say that a minimum of 6 or 7 points out of those 9 games, and we cannot lose. He's right. We literally can't really afford to lose against any of those. And we go back to the Oxford game. I know it's a while ago, since the game before we had started on a decent run, but again, that was an example, Steve, of just not hitting the ground running. Not setting the agenda. Like when we played Swansea, what I thought was really good, it reminded me a little bit of when Rangers played Celtic, and I think it was the Man United Man City game. I think it was. It was in those derby matches. Get on top of them straight away. You don't give them a look in, and you go for it from the kickoff. We don't seem to do that, do we?
We don't start off on the front foot, don't we?
The games we have done, and notably Portsmouth at home and Plymouth at home, we did. I'd like to see. See us start off that the next few games. But again, go back to the transfer window. I think the problem we've got is that the players that we brought in. So I'd say the equaliser he scored, that Yusuf scored at Millwall was fantastic, but he's not actually played properly since November, has he? With the way the season operates in Denmark. So these players have got to get up to speed. It wouldn't surprise me if we do get somebody in tonight, because we got all the Premier League teams will be looking at their squads now. It's going to be very, very late. I'd like to see us get somebody else in. Maybe not Carl Grant, with what I'm hearing as well, but I hope we can get at least another body through the door. And of course, Reindorf's gone to Bristol now, and they've got Keon Atete going to Bolton. So there has been some space freed up there. So I hope we can get somebody in to fill that.
So what about any thoughts? Maybe we'll just go around the panel on this one, actually. If I start with you, Steve, and I go to John and Terry. CEO, Manolis Siopis, right? So he comes in because obviously he had a connection with Errol Bullitt. He deliberately left his last club, got a buyout clause to come to us. He teamed up then with Dimi Gutas, and that and as a pair of individuals, I don't know. I like going to Greece on holidays. There's something about Greek people, they just got that personality and charisma, and they just seem like really, just really decent people. And I'd imagine CEO around the dressing room as part of the squad would have been a big character. What's your thoughts on him being one of the ones moving out? He's
done a good job, but with Mansvert coming in, I can see him dropping down the pecking order. So I can see it from CEO's point of view. Whilst he's been a very good servant for us over the last season and a half, but with him slipping further down the order, I don't think anybody's going to feel too much ill will towards him for moving on to Panathinaikos as he has.
No, and of course, getting back to his home, to his friends and family as well. And he's, as you say, he's 30-ish, isn't he? So Dimmy's pushing 30 as well, isn't he? So maybe, you'll see him moving out. Any thoughts on our Greek contingent, John?
Yes, I like Gutas, but I got a funny feeling he'll be gone in the summer. You can't blame Siopis going. How can I put it? Gives his all, Okay, sometimes gets knocked off the ball and he gives the ball away, but his work rate and for breaking up play is A1, But as you said, the Greek people, they're very family orientated people as well. They're nice people, the Greeks, and obviously he's probably feeling homesick. I just wish him all the best and thank you for everything. How many games he played? About 63, 68, something like that for Cardiff.
Yeah.
Just wish him well.
So Terry, for me, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes there are things which we can talk about as human beings. It just struck me as CEO just had a lovely way about him, and was it had a really kind of a real warmth with him. And if you saw him with the fans and this, that, and the other, he had time for people. And I suppose for all the reasons we talked about, it was time for him to maybe to get back home. Yeah. If I can ask you, go on, Terry.
I thought they might have gone him till the end of the season, to be honest, because he was quite a strong force in that mid, and every game he was one of these players. Every game you knew you were going to get 100% of him, and he turned up. Same you do with Gutas was up for last Saturday. But I mean, I thought they might have gone to him to give us strength. We haven't got this much strength coming in, and we don't want to lose anything at the moment. And come the summer, time to change and move on again. But they are Gutas and Siopis in midfield still was solid, and you knew you were going to get something out of them. I'm not convinced of everybody else at the moment, and the way we play players out of position is leaving them constantly there.
Yeah. Who I wanted to ask you a slightly different question, because I was trying to think about this, and I've got one in mind. Who do you think, Terry? If we just broaden it slightly to football and personality and human beings, have you got any favourite Cardiff City players over the years who kind of had that kind of charisma and personality about them?
Oh, I'm going back a long way now, and I'm going back to the era with Tapscott. Tapscott played. He got on with the fans brilliantly. You knew you were getting goals, and in more modern times, Ernie was another character. It was. And Peter Whittingham. They were the three characters who played for Cardiff over the years. I had great respect for. You always knew that they knew what their job was, and they always pulled it off. I
mean, the other one I'd add to that, John, would be Sol Bamba.
Well, that goes without saying. Yeah.
In terms of pure personality and charisma,
Yeah. I met him once. I had a minute or two talking to him, and nothing was ever a problem, and a gentleman. Gentle giant, lovely fella. Glad I met him.
Anyone for you, Steve?
I think what Terry and John have mentioned is there as well, with particularly with Sol Bamba coming in and Wits. But I'm always very enamoured with Brian Clark, the way he played for us.
Yeah, what a gent he was as well.
The way he conducted himself. There've been some great, even when I was growing up. First of all, obviously my first season I can remember properly was the season that Toshak was sold. And of course, a lot of people never came back after that. To go back as well, I think it's just a pity about where we're going to go from here as well, because again, we have had some relegation battles, but I think it's been forgotten that we did actually finish 12th last season. So we finished mid-table with a chance to push on, but we didn't. We went for the renewal of Errol Bullett's contract, and that didn't turn out very well at all. So we are where we are. I think it comes back to where we've got to. We've got to look to push on now. I think we just got to make sure that we stay up. I think it's all about to say, yeah, I agree that we got some big games coming up, but we did actually maintain our gap over the bottom three on Saturday. Yes, Plymouth won. Luton got a draw at Sheffield Wednesday, but Derby lost again. Derby are now, I think they lost 8 or 9 on the trot now. They absolute free fall they're in. So as long as we can maintain, if we go to Norwich on the last day of the season, 4 points clear of the bottom 3, I'll have a nice day out in East Anglia.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Our favourite team down the west there are getting dragged into it slowly. They have another.
They are. Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing that slightly cheered me up on the weekend, to be honest. It was marginal.
The dogs right now.
I spoke to a Forest fan on Friday night who was not confident at all going into their game against Brighton on Saturday, having lost 5-0 to Bournemouth the previous week. And he showed me on his phone that Bournemouth, Brighton beat Bournemouth 5-0, and then Bournemouth beat Forest 5-0, and then Forest beat Bournemouth 7-0. So we'll bounce back this weekend, the weekend after, and everything will look much better. Let's put this Leeds game behind us and look forward.
Well, we have to take that attitude.
We got this cup game against Stoke. This chance to experiment. I mean, we went up to Sheffield United not expecting anything. They didn't play their best side, neither did we. But we came away with a 1-0. And I think everybody who says the FA Cup is not important, it's relegation. I think an FA Cup win changes the morale, changes the spirit in the club. And I think, this weekend, he can afford to play these new signings. He can afford to give them a run up and he can play around with the team and see who's clicking well together.
Yeah, also the point there from Jamie, it's come as some great comments tonight, actually, Jamie. But I watched the under-21s game on the weekend before the big one, and Ramsey, of course, played a half, and he didn't look 100% fit, Terry, but he put through his passing was class because he is that player, and then Rocco Simic. Remember him? Rocco Simic came up with a goal, took it well. So I'm wondering, particularly with Simic, whether there might be a chance to try some of those out as well as part of their return to fitness. John, for the cup game, were you surprised? With Ramsey, some people are surprised to even see him in a blue shirt again. Really,
Fantastic player. Love Ramsey in his prime. He had that gift, didn't he? And you either born with it or you ain't. And it's awareness. He had that about him. Awareness. Where to put the balls through. And great player. But he's another one. The legs are gone. His legs are gone. And I think he was brought into the club because the season ticket sales weren't selling very fast, innit? As you all know today, gents, it's a business, innit? Brought Ramsey in, that sells the season tickets, don't it? And when he started playing for us, and he scored that one goal at Leicester and against the Jacks, playing well. Then he got injured. We never saw him again. Then he had another injury. But my mate went down watching the 21s and he looked good, but what you do, he may have another bang, and he'll be out again, innit? You know what I mean? He's probably 33, 4 now, Aaron Ramsey.
34, I think, yeah.
Yeah, 34, and he's breaking down all the time, and that's your body telling you enough's enough,
Yeah, but it was, you could just see from the ball he put through. He set up the goal, the pass he put through for Simic for that goal. There's no other player in our no get close to playing that kind of ball. So let's hope for the best.
Let's hope, just put him in that hole, Steve. Well, you haven't got to do much running around the line. Just put him in that hole.
That's what I said. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, put him in that hole. And he just puts his foot on the ball, and then his movement off the ball, and he can thread that pass through, because the only one who can do the box to box, and he's out on loan, is that Joe Colwell, isn't it? Who I'd like to see.
Is he at Bristol now? Is that right? Is he at Bristol Rovers now? Is he at Exeter?
No, Exeter, no?
Exeter. Yeah.
Exeter.
He was talking about
Joe Cole.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point to come across the bottom here as well on the comments, particularly in respect to the players that we're missing. I mean, I thought against Derby we particularly missed Ollie Tanner. It'd be great if he's still our player this time tomorrow, and he can come back.
Yeah, and actually on the comments, there's unbelievable amount of people watching this tonight, and an unbelievable amount of comments. So if you missed any, go through them, because I quite like it with everyone kind of debating stuff with each other. We'll just quickly deal with Steve's comment on the screen. So what do you think to that one, Terry? Would you put a strong side out at Stoke in the Cup?
I would, but I would, I would bring a few of these new players in and blood them. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, and if you can see how they perform and see how match fit they are, don't wait until 70 minutes or 75 minutes to bring them on. Put them in the starting lineup, give them the first 45, 50 minutes, and change them half time. You can do that if they run this team. But you'll see how much fit they are, how they gel with the squad, how much awareness of the game they got in them at the moment. So you know when they're going to start fitting into the side. It's a good chance for a confidence lifter. It's a good chance to change around, and it's a good chance to see who's really in form and how they work together. But play. I wouldn't play a weakened side. I always got this view: cup games give you confidence, and if you can win cup games, it reflects on the league. To go into a cup and say, "Oh, we're more interested in the league," brings the whole level of the football down, and that doesn't prove anything.
I think a similar approach to Sheffield United might be appropriate, where we had a mixture of experienced players playing alongside some players who we hadn't seen before. And that's the first time I've seen Fish, really. He was away at Sheffield United. I thought he had an excellent game there. Pierce as well, really good shift. And, of course, Kean Ashford was probably the man of the match there as well.
Oh, yeah, outstanding game.
Yeah. And Pacquiao before he got injured.
Yeah. Shame about that. What's your thoughts on taking? We only got a few minutes to go, John, but taking Terry's point, which I think is a really good one, about getting a winning spirit back in. You don't want to take unnecessary risks, but it would be nice to win this game and let's start again. Let's start another run, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with the gentleman down the bottom, Terry. There, winning breeds confidence. And Stapely win up Stoke. 5th round, guaranteed a big one then, and you.
Yeah.
And that, say for argument's sake, we drew Liverpool at home or whatever. Massive lift for the club, innit? Massive lift.
And the bank balance.
Massive lift.
That shouldn't do any harm. So we've agreed that February is massive, and obviously particularly Portsmouth, Plymouth, and Hull, because they're all signing players, and Plymouth have actually seem to be rising from the dead at the moment. So, I don't think they'll catch us, but who knows? And the cup match we talked about a little bit. Do you want to go with, should we go with a quick score prediction for the Stoke match? You're off to Stoke, Steve, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what's your score prediction?
I'm going for a 2-1 win. We'll be in the 5th round, another game to rearrange.
Okay. Terry?
I'm over a 2-1 win as well. Yeah.
And John,
we'll play well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, John, and yourself?
I'll go for a Cardiff 3-2 win.
Well, it's amazing that we lost 7-0. We're all going to win next time.
Trying to be positive, gents. Trying to be positive. There's going to be more twists and turns with this relegation battle, as you all know. There'll be more twists and turns.
And there may be more twists and turns in the transfer deadline window. We'll see.
So you never know.
3 hours and a bit to go if we take the extra time stuff into account.
Yeah.
So let's, it's kind of nice seeing some new players coming in and a few moving out. So it's a refresh of the squad. And like you said, John, earlier, a more major refresh to come in the summer. And will Terry's lucky scarf once again come to our rescue against Stoke City? Let's hope so, yeah?
Yeah, it will. It will. Go on, Teddy.
Cheers, all. We'll have to leave it there.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks,
gents.
Cheers. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.